Friends, welcome to StoriesThatEmpower.com. I'm your host, Sean. I am so excited because Jean Walters is bringing you another episode from her Unlocking Your Brilliance series. Let's get started. My guest today is Jean Walters, everyone. She's a return guest. She's been on here several times. I've had the pleasure of talking to her. And today we're just going to have a wonderful conversation together. And I'd like to welcome Jean. I'm actually going to hand the mic over to her. Jean, tell us, first of all, welcome. And second of all, tell us what you have been up to since the last time we spoke.
You know what? I've been doing a lot of writing lately. It's such a wonderful experience for me because writing for me is almost like channeling. And so I have a subject in my mind, and then I just kind of go to the computer and wait, and then it starts coming. And so it's just like a beautiful like meditation or something, the best way I could describe it. But I've been doing a lot of writing, and of course I still do my practice. I see people every week, and really just try to help them look through different eyes a lot of the time. So what I mean by that is, we have these challenges and opportunities in life, and sometimes people look with victim eyes at what's going on, and then they kind of lose their power when they do that. But what I try to do is help them see what is happening that might be helpful to them, or how is this situation helping them be stronger or grow in some way. And I think a lot of people don't look at life that way. And it's a shame because, as I said, they give away their power then and make themselves weak. So that's one of my philosophies that I work with. And I do the same thing in my own life too, by the way. I'm always asking, like, what is this about, and how is it to help me? So recently I lost my phone. I was at a conference in Cleveland, and I lost my phone. And I don't lose phones, that's a big deal, right? So so I was deciding, just what can I do to make sure I stay in contact to the people I need to be in contact with. That was basically, what I could do at the moment. But when I got back to St. Louis and I got a new phone, I realized that losing my phone kept me completely focused on the conference. And then later it occurred to me, and this is one of those insightful moments, that we all have, hopefully, that there was a way to get those phone numbers back. That was the only thing I was really concerned about, is getting the phone numbers back into my phone. And so I went over to the phone store, and I had some fellow working with me, and I said, I know there's a way to do this. And so we just kept poking around until we got it working. So all in all, a lot of things happened as a result of that. I got in touch with my sister, whom I hadn't talked to for a while, a few months. And then I found out that she was having problems. And then I was able to reconnect with her and send her a letter of just some sweet memories that I've had with her, because she's my twin sister. And so we grew up together. I mean, act really together, like playing every day together. So that was one benefit that came from all of that. And so that's what I suggest with people is, what is it that we are receiving from this? How is this event or opportunity helping us? So what do you think about that, Sean?
I think it's kind of neat that you were able to reframe that loss as an opportunity.
Yes.
That's one thing that's neat to me. The fact that you did not have your phone kind of kept you in the moment, and allowed you to be fully present and enjoy the conference.
Yes.
Makes me think of the times that I go in nature for a walk.
Oh.
And it's funny because my wife always asks me to take my phone, and I'm not trying to upset her, but I intentionally choose to leave it in my car. I'm not going hiking up mountains. I mean, it's flat terrain. I'm just walking in a park. I feel like if I truly want to disconnect, I have to physically leave my phone off my body, because otherwise it's hard to explain, but it's like
Yeah.
it demands this energy.
Yes.
And then I can't be fully present. I'm always thinking, what was that sound? Did my phone, did I just get a text message? Oh, wait a second. I'm waiting to somebody to call me, the plumber to call me. So I don't want any of that distraction. So I know exactly what you mean.
It's a beautiful story the way, but a lot of people, excuse me, are nailed not only to their phone but to their TV or something, and the computer, whatever. and then I feel like they miss out on just what you just said, the beauty of nature and just the rhythm of nature, because I think that's the thing that always gets me when I go walking in the park, which is almost every day. Just to feel it, to feel nature. And right now, gosh, it's so beautiful. I know you live a little bit east of me, but are you noticing how gorgeous the trees are?
Absolutely. I mean, this spring is my favorite season, but my second favorite is definitely fall, just because of the reason you just mentioned, the
Oh,
vibrant colors.
yes. And it like speaks to you. But another little part of that phone thing is that people at the conference were saying, "Oh, you lost your phone. Aren't you a wreck?" And I said, "No." And they said, "Well, oh, if it were me, I'd be just a mess." And I said, "Well, you have a choice. You can be a mess and just be all upset about it, but I don't see any value to that. And what I would really prefer is to be happy and just to enjoy where I am and not, and I'll get to my phone later when I get back home and get it all reset up." And they were just looking at me funny, like, "Oh, well, I guess that would be one way to do it." But it was pretty clear to me that most of them did not have that kind of, like I call it self-discipline, to just decide that I don't want this to take me down. I really want to live my life, with joy. And so that's one of the things I encourage people to do, is just make a choice. Decide that there's another way to look at everything. And if we do that, then we bring joy with us wherever we go. And it makes life very beautiful. It's like walking in the park every day.
You mentioned the word victim earlier, and so there was a recent thing at work that reminds me of that. We talked about victim, we also talked about cell phones. And I think we could also think of an example where there's a touch point between those two. Maybe I'm getting a little philosophical, but for example, sometimes I'll be, in the office and I'll be talking to a colleague, or a colleague will be speaking with me, and I'm giving her my undivided attention. And while I'm talking, I'll get a text message or a couple of messages. And
Mhm.
she will stop talking and she'll say, "Oh, I think that was your phone." I keep making eye contact with her, like as if to say, "Please continue your conversation. What you have to say in my physical presence is much more important to me than whatever text message just came in, and
She's astounded, isn't she? I bet
yeah,
she's
and she's a
astounded.
little surprised, because for her it would be like, "Oh, we're programmed, right? We've allowed ourselves to be programmed." And the same thing with not just text messages, but IMs that come through the computer monitor. It's like,
Mhm.
"Oh, hey, I just heard something. I think you just got an IM." And I try as politely to say, it's like, that IM will still be there 2 minutes from now. Please finish your thoughts.
Exactly. But you've decided, you made it a very strong decision that you want to be present in that moment with whoever and whatever is going on. And I love that, because I just think that is an answer to so many things that people put themselves through, so much angst and anxiety, because they can't let something go that they can't do a thing about. So if we can train ourselves to just go, can I take care? It's that prayer of St. Francis, to help us know what's important at this moment and let go of that which isn't. And that's a beautiful way to live life, really.
So, Jean, at the very beginning, you mentioned writing.
Mhm.
Talk to us a bit more about that. What does that look like for you these days?
Well, I write for some online magazines, and um, I've always loved writing. I think it's because one of the reasons is because it comes easy for me. I know a lot of people go, "Oh, I hate writing. I don't want to write," but I think they write through their head, and I write through my heart. So I think that's what makes it different for me. And I write about the things that I love to write about. So right now I have 6 books on Amazon. I don't know if you knew that or not, but I know we've talked about 1 or 2 in the past. But so when something comes to my mind, like right now, I'm really wanting to put together a book on self-healing. And I've got a lot of ideas, and I've been collecting information in a file folder. One day I'm going to lay it all out, and I'm going to get started on it. But the idea is that it's something that resonates to me. It's in my heart. And then I've done so much work on self-healing, with just past traumas and things like that. So I know that it's something that we are designed to do. And it's a wonderful ability that everyone has available to them. But I think we've been programmed so much with the idea that we have to have somebody, we have to go to somebody, and then we have to do whatever they tell us to do. And I think it's important that we listen to our own gut, I call it my heart, my gut, and decide, is this right or is it not? Is it something that will really help me or not? And I mean that in terms of taking a walk in nature, or taking a medical pharmaceutical drug, or listening to someone who's just telling you how to be a victim, or whatever it is. I think too much of the time we let somebody else guide us when it's not in our own best interest. And if we notice, we'll be able to tell in our own feeling state whether this is something we should be doing or not. And that's what I want to encourage people to do, is really listen to their own bodies, to their own intuition, to their own spirit, whatever, their soul, whatever you want to call it, it's the same thing. And then follow that, because it will never, ever lead you wrong. What do you think?
I'm fascinated and I love it. That resonates a lot with me.
Just like you leaving your phone in the car. I mean, that's right. That's the thing you need to do.
If somebody is curious about self-healing, where do they begin? How do they start?
Well, there's a few things that you can start with. One is learn how to be quiet. I meditate every day, but even like when you're talking about going in the park and walking for a while, you're in a quiet state. So oftentimes our minds are so busy. I call it the chatter mind. Some people call it the monkey mind, where you're chattering to yourself all the time. And so what we want to do is practice something that will quiet our mind. I started doing this years ago when I was just watch a candle. And I watch a candle for 10 minutes and just try to keep my mind on the candle. What I was actually doing is like building a muscle, a mind muscle, where I could actually control where my attention was. So that's a good exercise to do, but something where you can actually be so completely focused for a period of time. It could be 5 minutes. But in the meantime, you're kind of like building that certain muscle where you can concentrate and be quiet. When you become quiet, that's when you can really listen to your body. A lot of people walk around with, things that aren't working right in the body, and then they ignore them, like maybe a consistent headache or something like that. And then they ignore them when really they could be, it's trying to tell you something, like maybe you need to have more downtime, or maybe you do need to take a walk in the park, or maybe you need to be quiet for a while. But it's telling you something that you need. And if you ignore it, then it tends to exacerbate and expand. So the other thing that it works really well is to journal. And, like maybe in the morning and maybe at night, or maybe one or the other, but take at least 5-10 minutes and just write anything that comes to your mind. And people say, well, nothing really. Yeah, your mind is busy all the time. So write down whatever is there. And what you'll notice is that you might just write down a lot of things. I got to pick up the dry cleaning and I'd be going to the grocery store today. But after some of that goes away, then you get into some deeper information, some deeper feelings. And what we want to do is connect to those feelings, because that's how the body talks to us. That's how spirit talks to us, through our feelings. And so we want to, basically what I'm saying is, move out of your head and move into your heart or your gut, whatever you want to call that. And that takes a little bit of effort, a little bit of discipline, I guess, is the best word. But it will pay you so many dividends. Like children do it automatically. They meet somebody and they immediately know whether this is somebody that has good energy or not. And they know, and they don't question it. They don't say, how do I know that? They just know. And so we've always had that ability, but perhaps over the years, we've paid so much attention to what we should be thinking, and we should like that person, even though they kind of seem mean and growly. Maybe if you have an aunt or something that's not in a great place, and you're supposed to be kind and nice to her and spend time with her, when you really know it's not a good idea. But so we've all had those experiences, and so we've been sort of trained away from really listening. But just like you decide to put the phone in the car when you walk, in your heart that that's the best thing for you, because that walking experience is going to fill you up. It's going to give you energy. It's going to smooth out the wrinkles, so to speak. And it's important that you do that.
So when I think of self-healing, I think of something that's inward facing. Mm-hmm. As more and more people are able to do self-healing, do you think that has a touch point with the communities that we're a part of? And if so, how so?
I'm not sure what you mean. You mean like relevant to them? Is that what you mean by touch point?
As more and more people are able to prioritize self-healing and do self-healing, mm-hmm. do you think that can have a positive effect on our communities?
Oh my goodness, yes. Because in order to self-heal, you have to bring your energy up. You can't self-heal from a place of anger or annoyance, any of those things, or fear. You have to bring your energy up. So one of the simplest ways to bring your energy up is just to remind yourself of a happy moment. Maybe it's the, great vacation you had, or maybe it's just thinking of someone that you truly love. And when you do that, your energy lifts. It goes into a higher vibration. We self-heal when we are in a higher vibration. And it's been proven scientifically that every thought has a vibratory quality to it. Everything we do has a vibratory quality. And so we want to recognize that we are vibrating. And then the more that we can think about that beautiful spring day, or how gorgeous the trees are, or how happy we are to have someone in our life, the more that we can think about that, the more our energy goes up. I was on the road one time where I had a cold. I could hardly breathe. I was driving with one hand with a Kleenex on my nose. Then I started reflecting back on the meeting I was at. I think I was in Chicago at the time. And I was reflecting back on that meeting, and I realized that I was looking at it wrong. I was looking at it from a point of view of feeling rejected or feeling something bad. And when I looked at it and I shifted my awareness, I shifted into a different thought pattern of what was really going on, what was, something that was happening at the moment that really didn't have anything to do with me. I could let it all go. That moment, I did not have a cold anymore. It was gone completely. So that was one of the times when I realized self-healing can be that simple. Now, I'm not saying that's true for everybody or every situation. Okay. I don't want to be misconstrued on that. But I have been studying these things for so long, and I have such discipline about where I put my mind that for me, I shifted that quickly and healed. Now, I know everyone can do that because I've seen it in my office many, many times where somebody comes in with a terrible, terrible pain in their back. They can hardly walk. And then by the time they leave, they're walking out and it's not there anymore. And I said, how are you feeling now? And it's not that we actually focused on that pain, is that we focused on a situation they were trying to resolve. And because they resolved it, the pain was no longer there. So this happens a lot. And I just don't know if people notice or if they realize it can be as simple as that. It's not always that simple, but it can be. Have you had that yourself? Have you noticed that a moment like that yourself?
The only experience that I've had was a long time ago, and I don't know if this is any relation to what you're referring to. All of a sudden, I got this eye pain, I think it was, out of nowhere. And so we had a friend over, a very good friend, who had the same energy as you, just very a strong sense of, belief and faith. And, she was on at a very high frequency. And I think she just suggested like to lay down, close eyes. And I don't recall what else she suggested that I do. But about 15, 20 minutes later, I woke up and the eye discomfort was completely gone. So
Beautiful.
it was amazing. And I really thought at that initially that I would have to go to the ER or the
Mhm.
hospital.
Wow. Yeah. So it's just her soothing voice and her suggestion, and you believing and trusting in that, and then and follow. That's a beautiful thing. I think it can happen. I had a lady in my office, and she was. I finally said to her, you seem very angry. What do you believe that you are angry about? And then it's just like it kind of hit her because she didn't even notice that she was angry. And then she said, well, I'm mad at my husband and he died. And he was not supposed to do that. We had this agreement that we were going to go together or something like that. They had an agreement that they were going to live it out together. And she said, I'm just really angry. And anyway, as we talked, and we just talked a lot about that and looking at it from another point of view, and would you want him to be in pain? Because he was in a lot of pain at the end. And so she shifted. And that's really the right word, shifting, because our mind shifts into another way of looking. And then the pain was gone. It was completely gone. I think she was having a gallbladder attack, in my diagnostic brilliance. But anyway, but it was gone when she left, and she had actually forgiven him during that session. So I know that there's a tremendous power in forgiveness too, that as we forgive, we let go and we begin to just let people, we take a lot of things personally that we just need to forgive. And when we do that, it makes our life so much better. That's why Jesus said, forgive them for they know not what they do. Most people don't have a clue what they're doing. And so therefore they might say something rude or just act out of a sense of pain themselves, and then you feel hurt. And then now two people are hurt. and then when we look at it differently, we realize, that was all happenstance, and we don't need to take on a place of, like I said, victimhood or feeling bad about ourselves. We just don't. And then when we let it all go, when we forgive, because I say, you hear this a lot lately, hurt people hurt people. I see it. I've heard it on television. I've seen it in the movies. Hurt people hurt people. And that's really the truth. So when we realize that whoever does something kind of mean or not very kind, we have to look at the hurt that's there in them, and then we can let that go. What do you think? Have you tried that?
I no, I agree with you, and I think I don't know. Maybe you mentioned it to me last time, or I heard it someplace. There's an individual, an acquaintance, not a friend, an acquaintance, and they are. I like to use the word prickly. They're a little prickly, a little
Hmm.
abrasive. I
Hmm.
think to everyone, and for the longest time, I just couldn't put my finger on it. And this is my assumption. It's exactly what you said. My assumption
Hmm.
is that I think just like sometimes you watch TV shows and you see somebody that might be a bully or they might be
Hmm.
identified as a bully. When somebody does some, digging, then they find out, oh, maybe somebody was a bully to them. And so
Yeah.
therefore, kind of there's a ripple effect type of thing.
Yeah. Yes, and they felt they had to protect themselves early, and then so they just dragged that attitude around with them wherever they went. They assumed everybody was against them or something, and so when we see the pain, then we understand, and then we can offer kindness because whatever the bully is doing, he's not really doing it to you; he's doing it to himself. And so he's the one in pain. And then you can choose whether you want to participate in that or not. And it's not fun to participate. We really do want to just let it go and actually even wish them well because something's going on inside of them that's not very pretty.
Right, right. So what is on the horizon for you? What excites you currently? When are you working on a new project? I know you're,
I
you
always
know,
have projects going.
I know you've written so many wonderful books. So what's going on that's new with you these days?
Well, I teach a metaphysics class. I have been teaching that for a very long time. uh, Wayne Dyer said one time, he said, when he was teaching a class, he said, actually, you don't really know this to the people. He said, but I need you more than you need me. And that's kind of what I feel is that I need people. A long time ago, I realized that I had so much love to give that it would probably kill someone if I just gave it to one person. It would overwhelm them. So I realized that I really do need all the people that I deal with because I just need to give out all this love. And it's a chance, it comes through. I mean, it comes through everybody really, but many people stunt it, and decide not to feel that love and give it away. But I think it's really important to do that. I'm going to be doing some business consulting. I'm going to be working with small businesses to help them, whatever their issues are that are going on. We're going to identify them, and then I'm going to be able to help them work through some of those issues. I do that to some degree now. I work with some business owners. I actually always have. And, when they change themselves, the whole business changes right along with them. So I find that very exciting because now you're not just affecting one person, you're affecting everybody that works with the business, plus their customers and everyone. So I'm going to be doing more of that. And then I I kind of have an issue with filling up my time too much. So I'm really trying to monitor myself a little bit better and just do a lot of me time. What do you think about that term, me time? One of my clients told me I'm doing me time today, and I thought, well, that's a great way to call it, me time. So I'm doing me time every day. I walk and every day I meditate um, and just things that fill me up. So things like that, kind of normal thing. I call them normal things, but they're normal for me.
I think I like your idea of me time. When
Mhm.
I hear me time, I think of self-care,
Yes.
um, which is something I struggled with for a long time because initially I interpreted self-care as being selfish.
Yeah.
And until I reframed it and said, no, it's actually they're two completely different things. This
Yes.
this is more so about, filling up my own tank of gas so I can provide for myself and others.
Yes.
And so fortunately I look at it as two separate things now. And I do think it's very important, to do self-care. So I agree with you. My gut says It's exactly as you said a minute ago. I feel that you are super, compassionate
Yeah.
about, like, your calling,
Mhm.
and the love and the wisdom that you want to share and impart with others. As it comes to you, you want to give it away.
Yeah.
And there, I think there aren't enough hours in the day for you to do that. So maybe a challenge is finding that boundary, that happy balance. But I'm glad that you're carving out me time. That's important.
Actually, I always have, Sean. I always have. But the thing I realize is that when I fill my bucket, then I have more to give to other people too. So it's, I think this whole idea, I call it sacred selfishness. And the way you know if it's selfish versus, self-fulfilling or self-filling would be, does it enrich you to where you can give, to where you are now more present for other people? And I think sometimes selfish, when we call it a negative, is that we take from other people to give to ourselves. Well, I don't think that's necessary at all, because if we learn how to self-care in a way, we fill our bucket, we're able to give more to others, but we also give more to ourselves, and then we're better. So then whenever we're around people, we have a better attitude, we have more compassion, we're just kinder. So I feel like it's super important that we know the difference between selfish, because we were all taught with, that don't be selfish, well, that's being selfish. And I think we completely misunderstand that. And that could be some of the problems that culturally we face, is that people don't know how to self-care. And therefore they're not that great at, offering to other people, because they haven't filled their bucket enough to be able to feel that they have something to offer. And everybody does, really. Everybody has something wonderful to offer. It could even just be building their energy to where they're in a happy place. And then they radiate that out to the world. I mean, that's really wonderful too. So it's not always about doing. Sometimes it's just about really being the person that you're capable of being. And then you don't have to be in an active mode of giving all the time. So just some thoughts. Can you see that what I'm saying about the difference between this self? We know we've all been trained like, oh my God, don't be selfish.
Yeah, I completely can see the difference. I guess what I'm hearing is it depends on the final outcome or output. If I if I buy 3 cakes and I stuff my face with 3 cakes, yeah, it really, what I'm hearing is like, does it have the possibility of touching the life of someone else in a positive way, right? And ourselves as well. So no, that makes perfect sense to me.
Well, I was
Gene,
thinking in terms of like, if you got a massage, and then you feel relaxed and you feel happy, and then you go home and you have more to offer your family, you know?
that's true. I think that's a better example than the cake example.
But we both probably have cake on our mind right now.
You read my mind. You read my mind. Gene, I would love as always to stay on the phone with you and just continue this conversation for hours. I want to be mindful to you. This has been such a wonderful, open, heartfelt conversation. I know we want to stay connected with you because we
Yes.
want to check out your books and
Oh.
your business consulting and all the wonderful services that you provide. How can we stay connected with you, Gene?
Oh, well, thank you for asking that. But Jean, Jean, at Spiritual Transformation is my email. And anyone, feel free to contact me. I also do dream work too. I help people understand their dreams, which is really a lot of fun, because mostly they tend to interpret them negatively, where I'll say, no, that's not what your subconscious mind is not a negative being. So anyway, but also I have a website, spiritualtransformation.com. And contact me and talk to me and let me know what you need, and I'll try to guide you and direct you as best I can. And of course, my books are on Amazon. So, and they're all personal growth books, surprise, surprise. They're all personal growth books. And because that's really my favorite subject. But I appreciate so much that we get to share like this, Sean, because it's another way to reach people and to help them. And we both like that.
Thank you again so much for your time. It was wonderful to speak with you as always.
Thank you, Sean. You have a wonderful week and weekend. Okay.
Thanks so much.